lotions, natural aphrodisiacs, processed and dried unprocessed food. Our mission at Gabby Dave is to connect African and Caribbean businesses to customers globally. At Gabby Dave, we ensure our sellers get the best deal for their products. We are not just here to help you reach a wider audience. We are also a distribution center to support business growth by fulfilling orders to your customers from our warehouse, making sure customers receive their products on time. We are inviting all Black-owned businesses to trade on our platform because we strongly believe Africans have a unique brand the customer would appreciate globally. So get in touch today and let us make your product and business go far. Here are some of the benefits of using Gabby Dave Global. User-friendly platform, track your shipment, online support, transparent process, multiple SKUs, multiple products, a platform that encourages manufacturers as well as traders. Our marketing and PR interventions amplifies yours. Organized products and categories for easy access and navigation. Access to global community, especially within UK and Europe.
Miles as a result of delays caused by new border controls. Joining me now is Sarah Luardi. She is the head of European policy for Logistics UK. Sarah, very good morning to you. Now, this is all to do with the EU's new smart borders entry and exit system that is launched later this year. What does this all entail?
So the entry-exit system is the scheme whereby the EU will automate its border controls for passengers and undertake biometric passport checks. Now, where it becomes relevant to UK authorities and UK citizens in particular is where those controls are taking place in juxtaposed way, meaning that the EU checks are taking place on the UK side of the border, like in Dover or at the Channel Tunnel terminal. And the issue is that the model for these controls has been designed for airport environments, where people actually walk through gates, but not for a port environment where passengers would be required to leave their cars, potentially cross traffic lanes to be subject to those passport checks. So what we are asking the government to do about this is to really engage in urgent dialogue with French authorities to build a new model that will be compatible with a rural port environment, such as Dover.
Am I right in saying, though, Sarah, that this would have happened even if the UK was still in the EU because the UK is outside the Schengen area?
That's right. This is something that comes on top of the EU exit processes. It's something that was planned already, that the EU was planning to do. It is going to happen in the course of this year, presumably from September. And it's interesting to see that it comes in addition to the new UK import controls that will start from July. So this is particularly challenging. It has the potential to create disruptions if it's not addressed properly and urgently. So this is our key ask to government now, to find a resolution, a practical model that works for the entry-exit system while taking the necessary actions to place industries and the logistics industry in particular in a position to deliver for the import controls on agri-food products that will start in July.
Now, since the beginning of the year, the UK government, of course, has phased in new customs controls on imports into Great Britain from the EU. Are hauliers getting used to this yet, or are there still a lot of delays being caused?
I think it's fair to say that there was a learning curve since the beginning of January. The percentage of trucks that arrived with issues in their paperwork has reduced significantly. It's now really close to full compliance. Of course, there are still a number of minor mistakes. The difficulty is that we've seen over the past 2 weeks that the pressure that the new formalities place on the border make it a little more vulnerable to external adverse events, such as reduced ferry capacity, as was the case through the short straits, while a number of ferries were out of operations for maintenance. So that resulted in queues in Dover. So we're seeing the interaction here between regular, unexpected or planned events that affect the operations of the port and the logistics world in general, combined with new import procedures resulting from leaving the single market, which was always due to create additional formalities and a potential for disruption.
All right, Sarah, we have to leave it there. Thanks very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Some other business news stories for you now. And the mutual life insurance companies Royal London and LV said today that merger talks between them had come to an end. LV, which in December last year saw an attempt to sell itself to the US private equity firm Bain Capital, voted down by members, said it had become clear that such a merger would not be in the interests of its members. It said the strength of its business performance over the last 18 months had strengthened its belief in continuing as an independent mutual. The Irish packaging giant Smurfit Kappa warned customers today that they could expect further price increases in coming months as it seeks to pass on higher costs. The FTSE 100 company said that 2021 had been characterised by significant and unprecedented cost inflation, particularly in energy, recovered fibre and other categories of raw materials which remained at elevated levels. It said it expected to continue to recover those costs. The company also reported a 22% rise in full-year pre-tax profits to €913 million. And the home furnishings retailer Dunelm said today it expects to continue attracting new customers to the brand after extending its ranges to include lines such as freestanding kitchen furniture and bed linen made from 100% responsibly sourced cotton. Well, Dunelm, which now employs more than 11,000 people in 175 mainly out-of-town superstores, said it would carry on opening new outlets as it continues to expand beyond its Midlands heartland, where the company was reporting a 25% rise in full-year pre-tax profits to £140.8 million. Now, one of the key missions outlined in the recent Levelling Up White Paper was to reduce the significant skills gap facing the UK. The government pledged to train around 200,000 people every year with high-quality skills training to address the issue. Will that be enough? Well, it's now National Apprenticeships Week, and my next guest can bring me insight into how the construction industry is creating opportunities for young people. He is, of course, Mark Reynolds. He's the Chief Executive of MACE. Mark, very good morning to you. I gather you're looking to take on around 70 apprentices this year. What do you look for in a potential apprentice?
A lot of it is about enthusiasm. We currently employ 130 apprentices and about the same number of graduates. So over nearly 6% of our workforce is graduates and apprentices. And what we're looking for is people with attitude, skills, want to develop. Our industry needs circa 80,000 people a year for the next 10 years. So it's a fantastic opportunity for people to get involved with really changing society and making a big impact on sustainability and growth within the sector and beyond the economy.
And clearly the construction industry in the main is not creating enough apprenticeships right now to cover the skills gap. Why do you think that is?
Partly is historic, because it's seen fairly traditional, but the industry's changed significantly and will continue to change over the next 10 years. So the use of digital tools, we have things like analytics now, which we never had before, which is common in many other industries. Robotics, the use of robotics is taking a lot of the labour element away. And some really smart tools, so taken from other industries, so additive manufacture, all these things being brought into an industry. So it's very different to the things that we used to see 100 years ago, where it's very much craft-based, to move into a digital, high-value economy. So the change is going to happen over the next 10 years, and it's beginning, and over the last 5 years, it's changed beyond recognition from a health, safety, diversity perspective, but there's still a lot more to do.
Mark, a lot of employers have had criticisms of the apprenticeship levy since it was introduced by the coalition government all those years ago. Is this getting any better, this situation?
Absolutely. And we've been working, in fact, I've just had a meeting with the government team working through the lessons on the apprentice levy. It is clear that it needed work when it was launched. What has happened is it's been increased to 25% of the unspent levy can be distributed to SMEs, which is really important. What we're doing is trying to increase that now so that industry, and we've done some surveys with London First, many of the employees, over 50% spend less than 25% of their levy with SME. So there's a huge opportunity to do more. But it's not just about giving the money away. It's about giving the support, helping them, the smaller organisations, train, develop and mentor their way to the future, because our industry will not succeed without a successful and vibrant supply chain. So we need to help them to flourish in the future.
And very briefly, Mark, while we've got you, how are you navigating current inflationary pressures in the business?
That's a challenge. It's a global challenge, and we speak with partners around the world. So it's one of those things which is a threat. We have to work, again, right way through our clients and through our supply chain. So it's trying to find more ways of being more productive, more efficient, do things differently. But it's definitely going to be a challenge through 2022 for us to cope with that. And it will impact on some organisations in terms of their profitability and cash flow. So what we must do is collaborate, work together, and more importantly, find smart solutions to overcome those problems in the medium term.
All right, Mark, appreciate you joining me this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Recent results from the likes of Shell and yesterday BP might paint a rosy picture for the profits of those oil giants. But new research suggests industries such as oil and gas are moving slower than they should towards goals on sustainability. Well, the reason, according to the power and automation technologies giant ABB, is a failure to adopt digital technologies at scale. Well, joining me now to talk about this is Peter Terwish. He is the president of process automation at ABB. Peter, welcome to you. Why are these businesses being so slow to adopt digital solutions, in your view?
I'd rather turn it around and look at the question of what has the pandemic done to digitalization? And we've run a survey with more than 700 key decision makers from industries like energy, manufacturing, and transportation. And what the survey has clearly shown is that during the time of the pandemic, both the priority given to sustainability, but then also the readiness to deploy digital technologies has increased very significantly. So actually 96% of our survey respondents also found that digitalization will be a key enabler, not only for safer and smarter operations, but also for more sustainable operations.
And what sort of solutions are you talking about here? What do you have in mind?
I'm really thinking broadly in the first place of the industrial Internet of Things, but then when we look more specifically, I think it's almost trivial to point out that the greenest energy is the energy that you don't consume. So taking billions of better decisions, as we call it, by basically managing automatically as well as through human decisions energy as well as resource efficiency questions was based on a lot more and better data has a key contribution to make here.
I mean, the oil and gas industry in particular has traditionally been very, very good at things like process automation. I was quite surprised to see that you saw them lagging some other sectors.
Look, I think there's many reasons why the oil and gas industry and the energy industries at large are conservative industries. I mean, we appreciate a certain amount of conservatism over experimentation when it comes to dependable provision of energy, when it comes to dependable power. And at the same time, of course, we can see that with some of the green energies that are an increasing part of the mix and need to be in order to master sustainability, those energies tend to be more intermittent. So the integration of the sort of production processes, including for oil and gas, but also for industrial manufacturing, and reconciling that with technology, with the intermittency of the renewables in order to enable a greener energy mix. That's really an opportunity I'm quite excited about with the industrial Internet of Things. And it's materializing as we speak.
You have a lot of clients in the mining industry with whom you've been working on electrification and automation. What are they getting right?
What we are seeing is a great readiness to basically substitute fossil fuels in the mining industry more and more with electricity, which opens the door for renewable electricity here. And that is particularly pronounced if you look at underground mining, where not only you've got kind of the fuel that needs to come underground, but also it does consume oxygen. So you actually have a lot of consequential costs also from an operations perspective when it comes to ventilating, which is a big part of underground mining costs. So you can actually help both the sustainability as well as the productivity by advancing your mining operations to be safer, smarter, and more sustainable.
All right, Peter, we have to leave it there. Thank you for joining me today. It's appreciated.
Thank you.
Now, today marks the end of the consultation period for a proposed shake-up of how financial services policy and regulator are made in the UK. It's aimed at adapting UK financial regulation to ensure it remains fit for the future and to reflect the UK's new position outside the EU. Well, joining me now to talk about this is Marlos Nichols, Head of Policy and Advocacy at the Finance Innovation Lab. Marlos, welcome to you. Now, one of the key strands here is to create a financial services sector that is globally competitive. You don't think that's the right approach. Why not?
If we're saying that by competitive, we want a world-leading finance sector that has a really strong reputation, if we mean by competitiveness that we want a financial services sector that really maximises its contribution to the economy, to society, and plays a strong role in meeting our climate commitments, then absolutely we think we should have a globally competitive finance sector. I think the real question in this review is how we achieve that. And that's where there's a really interesting debate happening.
And, well, tell me more.
So one of the flagship proposals that the government has put forward that we're reviewing at the moment as part of the consultation is that the regulators should be given a statutory objective to promote the competitiveness of the finance sector. Now, it might be a bit counterintuitive, but we actually think that will backfire and undermine our shared goals to have a really successful finance sector. And that's really because it would actually undermine the independence of the regulators to act in the public interest. And that's their key role. There are other actors who can be cheerleaders for finance, trade bodies, the firms themselves, but we really don't think that should be the role of the regulators. That really risks putting them in a dangerous race to the bottom with regulators worldwide to water down standards. And we've actually been here before, and we've really got to learn from the lessons of the past. So actually in 2012, Parliament reviewed past competitiveness objectives that were issued to the regulators, and they acknowledged that that contributed to the global financial crisis. That event cost people jobs, their homes, their livelihoods and savings, and we can't repeat that. I think Andrew Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England, put it really well in 2019 when he said, "We've tried this before and it didn't work well for anyone."
I wonder whether actually the people working in regulators are of a sort of mindset to bang the drum for competition in any case.
Well, I think competition is actually quite a distinct issue from competitiveness. The regulators already have a mandate to promote competition, which can be a really good way of driving better outcomes and fair markets for people that mean that we have really good financial services that we need to manage our day-to-day lives. Competitiveness is a slightly different issue, and as I say, I don't think that that's the role of the regulator to promote competitiveness. We actually did a poll last month and we found that most of the public agree with us. Less than 1 in 10 think that regulators should be prioritising the competitiveness of the finance sector. What people really want is a finance sector that is stable, that really protects them, and also promotes inclusion. And actually, although we have a world-leading finance sector, there are many people in the UK who really struggle to access services that like cash, like access to bank branches. And that's the real opportunity with